It's the dawn of a new season in women's lacrosse, and what better way to start than with national champions, All-Americans, Tewarton finalists, a top 15 battle as number 2 North Carolina visits number 12 James Madison in our CAA Game of the Week live on Lax Sports Network. Hello, everybody. Alongside Kelly Berger, I am Tom Eschen. So pleased to have you joining us here to kick off our CAA women's coverage in 2022. Last year, North Carolina ended JMU's season in the NCAA tournament. Kelly, when these two get together, it's always a lot of fun, and they do it on a yearly basis.
It is, and after talking to both of these coaches, they are both going in knowing it's going to be a battle, knowing it's going to be a fight. It's a first game. People are excited. You know, there might be some butterflies, but they are ready to battle, and this game matters.
It sure does, and I'm so excited to start with Jamie Ortega, a 2021 Tewarton finalist, and as you know, she has been one of the biggest stars in this sport for a long, long time. She's a chance to be the only 5-time All-American in North Carolina history. That just shows you, since she stepped on campus, she's been a star.
Yeah, Coach Levy talked about her a lot this past week, and she said Jamie's just doing Jamie. She's been here, she's done that. She's an old head, as we like to call her, and she knows what she needs to do to take this team to a national championship this year, and it starts today.
Yeah, she was co-national player of the year last year with Katie Hogue. Katie Hogue has graduated. Now the offense falls into the hands of Caitlin Wurzberger, former number 1 recruit, 53 points last year, has to navigate an experienced defense led by this person, 2018 NCAA champion Molly Doherty.
Molly, it's no different for her this year. She's hungry. She has always been hungry. She has goals that she wants to meet. She has plans ahead for this entire team. And I am anxious to see this battle because they're both going to show up. We know they will. They've been here. They know how to show up in the big moments. But let's see if Molly can make those big saves and get her team behind her and then take it into a big win.
Well, she has a counterpart in goal, one being that of Taylor Moreno, the graduate student, who you can look at her record from last year, second best goals against average in the nation. She was the ACC tournament MVP coming into this year, a first-team All-American. She's also a Tewarton favorite, Kelly, and this is a goalie matchup for goalie lovers everywhere. These two are going to be so much fun to watch.
So much fun to watch, and 2 goalies that play against good teams every single week. So to have all those accolades and to be able to say that, it should get everyone excited to watch this game because you know you're going to get a good fight in both goal cages.
Moreno from Huntington, New York, the USA Lacrosse preseason national goalie of the year, and she continues to let the accolades come in, headed by this defense of Emma Trenchard, a perennial now Team USA player. And it's impressive to watch this Carolina team play, but I think JMU, they know each other well. They're going to be feisty, I feel like, the Dukes today.
Yeah, Shelly was not shy in saying that. She said on the call this past week that they were going to come after them from the start. Obviously doing it in a clean way, but they're not going to back down. So we'll see what team shows up on this first draw.
JMU last beating North Carolina. This was a couple years ago during JMU's championship run. They beat them in the Final Four in 2018, beat them in the opener last year. Glad we get them back in the opener this year. Of course, with COVID and everything, that game was postponed to the middle of last season. And even with that, James Madison was going through some COVID issues, albeit during the first matchup they played last year. That was a blowout for North Carolina. Things changed for JMU midway through the season last year, ended up winning their 4th straight CAA title. And as we know, Carolina were 1 goal away from the championship game. They lost to the national champions Boston College Eagles by 1 goal in the semifinals. I think a lot of people might forget about that, seeing what Boston College did. Carolina was probably the best team for the big portion of the regular season last year. Now here they come in number 2 this year.
They say that's tucked far away. You know, they try and tuck it far away, I'm sure, and just say, okay, new season. But as an athlete, you know that's in the back of your mind. That's the last game you played. This is the next chance you get. And so you got those butterflies. You're eager to get back out there and kind of not erase what happened, but just start anew.
So Moreno will be going up against a James Madison offense that Shelley Clay says is improved. They've taken steps forward even from the fall to the spring of this year, led by Isabella Peterson, who was a first-team All-CAA player last year. 45 goals, a total of 56 points. Peterson will be initiating from the top. They'll mix things up down low, but we are ready to go. Live from Centera Park in Harrisonburg, Virginia, about 55 degrees. A beautiful spring day to kick off the 2022 season, and here we go. Draw will be one of the places to watch here today, as JMU did beat UNC in the draw in that tournament game. So this will, of course, determine tempo and who gets off to a better start. And, of course, North Carolina now with possession. And you will notice a difference at the bottom of your screen. 15-minute quarters. That's one of the big changes coming into 2022. The halves are gone. We'll play 4 15-minute quarters as they continue to try and progress in the women's sport.
I'm excited to see how that plays out, how each teams use that to their advantage, how it might hurt some teams. I mean, we'll see today on what it looks like, but it's a cool change, in my opinion, for the women's game.
Yeah, I think both coaches were on the same page when it came to that. When we talked to them this week, kind of likes the feel of it and gets to segment the game a little bit more, too. I can imagine that's a whole kind of a unique approach as well.
Yeah, it's a whole different feel to the game, but you can also take things from, two halves as well. So you got to kind of mix it up.
That pass in the middle goes through and picked up by the Dukes. The Dukes losing Emma Johnson, who have been a cornerstone in front of Doherty for so many years, but pretty high on their defense. Carolyn Thistlethwaite, Marae Durkin, Nicole Marshall, Rachel Mady, just to name a few back there that have a pretty strong core, an experience, especially even against this Carolina team, and they get a stop to start. That's huge, Kelly.
That is huge, and we'll be interested to see what JMU does with their defense. Are they going to go in and out of a zone? Are they going to go to man-to-man? They can do all kinds of different things, and that was a zone, so seemed to work. We'll see if they stick to this on this next possession. They got to clear the ball a little bit better there. Yeah,
there's the pickup by Caitlin Wurzberger. We talked about her in the Open. Had a couple of goals against JMU in the tournament game last year. 3 goals and an assist in the BC game in the semifinals. Number 13 in blue and white. Someone that has been really talked about since she was in 7th grade. She was the youngest commit ever. And now coming to North Carolina in her 2nd season, she will be tasked with taking on the load a little bit of Katie Hogue. There's the cutter in the middle. That one once again slapped away by the sticks of JMU. Can they recover? They do. Picked up here in transition. Lizzie Fox.
Something to watch that Coach Clace talked about over the call was she is giving the green light to the defenders to score goals. So we'll see in this transition throughout the game, will the defenders actually go to goal? Will they shoot? And will they score? Let's keep an eye on that, Tom.
So far, so good on defense. That's 2 stops against an offense that last year was the 3rd highest scoring team in Tar Heel history. They scored 15.6 goals per game, so we know how explosive they can be. Now let's see what JMU can do in their real first offensive possession and getting the clear successfully. That pass picked off over the middle. Brooklyn Walker-Welch getting her stick in there. The Ontario native and a freshman out of the Hill Academy making a play early. But unable to clear is Carolina. A little sloppy here early.
Little sloppy, and I think that's nerves. The first 5 minutes of every game is kind of nervous, but especially in this one, the opener.
A lot of physical contact there inside the 8-meter, and we have a whistle go up, and we'll get our first opportunity for JMU on the 8-meter here. Mady goes to goal, shoots and scores. Dukes on the board first.
With both of these teams being very physical, the 8-meter has to be a focus. They're going to get these opportunities. They must capitalize on those 8-meter shots, just like Rachel just did right there. She exploded off this line. She required the umpire to pull her back and then she exploded hard and finished down. So it's one of those things where you have to maintain that focus on that 8 meter, and you have to consider it finish and put it in the back of the net.
You're going up against Taylor Moreno, just to keep in mind there, too. There's some mental hurdles to get over. Mady wasn't bashful at all. The Phoenixville, Pennsylvania native, first-team All-CAA a year ago, preseason All-CAA. She led all JMU defenders in goals, assists, and points last year. So you can see you're doing it. You just mentioned it, Kelly. The defenders getting their way up front, and this time, Mady cashing in. This is Olivia Dirks and Isabella Peterson taking this draw. Dirks, the transfer from Penn State, a couple of the new transfers that have come into this Carolina program in the offseason. Dirks, a first-team preseason All-American, but she loses the draw. She does win the draw, and Carolina gets the offensive possession. 2 stops so far for JMU.
You know, when a team sits in a zone here, you take a few minutes, you have to kind of figure them out. So I think JMU's hoping to kind of get in UNC's head a little bit and just kind of have them take an extra second so then they can get settled even more.
Appeared to be a shooting space there on James Madison, and sometimes in the zone you'll get some of those calls alongside some 3-second violations. So something to keep an eye on here today, or some of those whistles that come off the ball. And now it'll be Carolina, and Molly Doherty tested for the first time. That one is flipped out of the stick. And the whistle blows, and that goes the way of the Dukes again. So they've survived 2 offensive possessions and an 8 meter so far. So far, so good.
So far, so good, and defense has to feel confident. You know, getting 3 stops, Molly feeling like her defense is there and showing up, and she's got people in front of her ready to work.
Doherty, one of the 2 remaining holdovers from that 2018 championship team, her and Katie Chikoski. Doherty actually started at JMU back in 2017. That was her redshirt year, so she's been around quite a long time, and there's a nice clear for Mairead Durkin. You're going to see her do that all day long.
Now you see here that Carolina is in a man-to-man situation, which it looks like they're going to be in a help defense situation here, but a little different than on the other end when JMU's in a zone. So you'll get 2 different defensive looks if you're new to watching the game.
Peterson standing at 6 feet. She'll initiate from on top and she'll take shots with either hand, and that time takes one that goes just a bit wide. And I didn't hear the whistle, but there was a whistle. Looks like she's going to take it on that right hash. So Peterson, who led this team in scoring a year ago with 45 goals, gets an opportunity. Hesitates, takes some contact, tries to find her teammate Franz in front, and it's Moreno who comes up with it. Out to Dirks. Big Ten midfielder of the year last year at Penn State. You'll see her run out of this midfield alongside the Notre Dame graduate student, Andy Aldave. Aldave also a very, very talented player, former IL first-team All-American preseason. She's done that a few different times in her career. 3rd team coming into this season. As Kerrigan Miller, of course. Kerrigan Miller now on the staff of North Carolina. She moved on after coming over for 1 season. North Carolina, just one of those reboot, refuel, and back at number 2 again this year.
Yeah, and although you have so many good players that may have graduated, you always have somebody in the wings, it feels like, at Carolina, and they're ready to go, and they're just being kind of groomed as the other one. They're watching on the field. They're ready for, you know, their call up, and that's just the Carolina way.
And plenty of players were interested, we've been told, of playing here. Good dodge by Dirks, and she ties it up 1-1. A shifty Olivia Dirks gets her first.
A great dodge. You just said it. A shifty Olivia Dirks. A great dodge with a lot of shifty movements. Reading the defense, but also not letting the defense dictate where she goes and what she does. She, you know, took the chance to go right, but then realized she had to switch back because there was another defender coming in. So it's a really good vision here to be able to see the openings and finish before, that defense collapses in, which was slightly dangerous on JMU's part. They need to probably hold off on that slide there, but nonetheless, it was a really good take.
Jenny Levy speaking with her there, speaking very highly of Dirksen, even in her development since coming to North Carolina from Penn State in the offseason. And Dirk's one of those, last year really was their first full year of college. I find that so interesting, that dynamic with the freshman who only got a few games, or the sophomore, you know what I mean? It's just an interesting thing to see now, finally, some of these players able to actually settle into a real season for the first time. Even last year was weird.
Yeah, don't even ask me what year every student is. I lost track. I'm so confused.
I just go with whatever's on the website, but sometimes, Dirks is listed as a junior. This is an example. Listed as a junior, she has 3 years of eligibility left.
It's pretty wild.
A takeaway here for Carolina as they get it back into their offensive end, and Ortega will go and just settle things down a bit.
And to take note there, JMU has won the draw and then they lose it. They need to have a little bit more composure on that draw control to then win the draw, but then it's not won until it's finished in your offensive end. And Carolina's not giving up on it, so they need to make that adjustment.
Ellie Mastriani now here with possession. She's a preseason first-teamer. Get it over to Aldave. Mastriani now working in from behind. Ortega, so dangerous from there. The feed and the finish. Aldave gets her first. How about that? The 2 transfers for Carolina, the first 2 goals of the season.
Andy is so good at off ball. It's something that you cannot teach, and you can teach it, but it's something that she has really perfected just from the start of when she's played. I've been watching this player play for so long, and she, from the start of the first time I saw her, she knows exactly what to do off ball to get herself open and finish. So it's not only get herself open, catch, have composure, and finish the shot. She does it so well, and it's good to see her in blue. Yeah,
she's the recipient of an assist from Jamie Ortega, played with Jamie's sister, Nikki, at Notre Dame and on the U19 team a couple years back. So that connection with the Ortega family for Aldave, ever so strong here, and Carolina has a 2-1 lead. Mastriani and Peterson here for the next draw. This was the battle we were looking forward to all day long. Mastriani, 112 draw controls last year. Peterson, 48, but came on strong at the end of the season. Here's the first whistle. They'll play on. Midway through this first quarter, 2-1 North Carolina.
Talked a lot about slowing Carolina down. I think everyone talks about that when they play Carolina. They're so fast. They're so athletic. You got to get back in. You got to slow the break, and you have to get settled defense in order to really give yourself a shot because of how athletic and fast they are. And JMU's done a good job.
Yeah, and JMU, Jenny Levy told us, she goes, yeah, they're strong, they're big, and they're fast. They can do it all. And that time Ortega hits the deck, and she will draw the foul as the whistle blows. It was Mady with the infraction. So Ortega here going up against Molly Doherty. Ortega passes out of it. The shot off the post for Aldave. Recovered here by the Tar Heels. Shot clock resets to 60 there. That's one of the other new nuances here this season.
JMU is sticking into this zone. They're still reading the zone the way they want. I'm going to be surprised if they stay with it too much if Carolina keeps scoring off ball, because they are doing a really good job moving.
There's the save for Doherty, her first of the day, and it's a good one in a big spot.
Huge save. I mean, on the doorstep there from Carolina, and balls behind, and Molly makes it look easy to turn and make an amazing save.
She had such an incredible run during the CAA tournament last year, and they were pretty honest, and the fact that she didn't win the CAA Goalie of the Year was a bit of a rallying cry for her around her team. As she's gotten better each year, which is crazy to think about. As a freshman, she won the championship, and she's continued to get better and better. You got to imagine getting that award again, and of course, she would have wanted to win a 5th straight and be the only one to ever do that. Will not get that chance, but she's got a lot to play for here in 2022 still.
Yeah, I say, well, forget the conference tournament, just win the national.
That's been the focus of JMU, and we talked at length about that with Shelley Clays, about their approach, the fact that they're unable to compete in the CAA tournament this year because of their move to a new conference, the university to the American, and unfortunately that will mean JMU won't be able to play in the conference tournament this year, and they'll still play this regular schedule and be able to do conference awards and all that, just no tournament for the team that's won it 4 straight times. We've seen that happen even in the last couple of weeks in college athletics, but they are taking it. They're saying, hey, the national scene is what we've wanted to be a part of for a long time, and that is our focus. And their schedule reflects that too. It's not an easy schedule either, Kelly.
No, one game at a time. It's really all you can do. And what it means is these early games, they mean maybe a little bit more, although they should always mean something, but there's kind of no warm up, right? You just have to, you got to say, okay, it's our first game. This one counts just as much as the last game would count.
Stop there for the Carolina defense as they get it back offensively. Dodge for Ortega. Wurzberger from X. Wurzberger goes low and she scores. 3-1 Carolina. The sophomore from Delray Beach gets on the board.
The most unreal thing about this is, you say, the sophomore. And the biggest thing that I took note on is she's being considered the quarterback back there. Jenny Levy wanted her to be the quarterback, and that's exactly what she just did. She took control of the offense there. She turns the corner and she shoots with confidence like she's a senior, and she's only a sophomore. And so it's just pretty awesome to see someone like that have that much confidence and then be named, hey, I want you to be the quarterback back there in your sophomore season.
Yeah, and as a sophomore now, she's been able to do more things with her teammates outside of the field, which is so important, and establish connections and rapport. And that stuff doesn't go, that's a little underestimated, but last year that could not happen a lot of the time because of the COVID restrictions. Looser this year, and she's been able to do that more with her teammates and establish those connections as she's needed to in filling that role of really Katie Hogue, which is not an easy one to fill.
Absolutely not.
Dirks and Peterson here for the draw. Less than 4 minutes to play. 3-1 North Carolina. They've scored the last 3 goals here. Picked up by Emmeline Knowles, and she is a name that you're going to want to know and you should know it at this point. She's a junior, and Emma Trenchard gets a lot of credit for a lot of reasons, as she should, but Knowles is as close of a second best defender, maybe not only here in the conference and elsewhere, that you will find. Knowles is really good, and that helps this whole defense go as well. Pass over the middle, some more physical contact in that middle, and Lizzie Piracino does a good job there, just taking the contact and getting possession back.
Yeah, and you saw there, you don't get much stats for that, but just putting your head down, trying to grit out and get that ball, she does that really well, and that goes kind of unnoticed sometimes, but that just earned her team the ball back in a possession that they really do need right now.
Yeah, Piracino, just a sophomore, and I remember her freshman year, you're talking about her and how she was almost overconfident at times, might have rubbed the upperclassmen the wrong way, but sometimes you need a chip on the shoulder like that, and now with a little more experience, can wear that even bigger and make impact plays like that. That goes a long way. Another one for JMU. They stop the run. Maggie Clark gets her first goal as a Duke.
We were told to watch Maggie Clark. We were told that she's going to show up, and she did exactly that. Her first goal as a Duke, I mean, to take this dodge on this very low angle, you have to really know where to place that ball in that low bounce, not too far in front of the goalkeeper, not too far back. You have to have that specific angle, and she captured it, and that was a beautiful dodge and a beautiful finish.
A redshirt freshman from Bayport, New York, went to Bayport Blue Point. Didn't play all of last year, but she's got the speed. And Coach Clays was saying, yeah, she can consistently beat Molly Doherty in practice. So you know that she can do that at a high level, and you saw it right there.
And that's the other thing. I mean, you're going against one of the best goalies every single day in practice. So you have to have confidence going against any of these goalies because you have one of them on your team that you're shooting against, right? So that's always helpful.
Kelly, do you remember your first goal as a Duke?
That's so long ago. I have no idea.
Do you remember your last, at the very least?
That was ages. Yeah, maybe I remember my last.
Okay, all right.
But that was ages ago. Ages.
Wasn't that long ago.
Longer than I'd like to admit.
Yeah, okay.
It's all right, though. I feel like I don't get any older. They just get older,
Yeah, that's exactly right. Another big draw win here for JMU that looked like for a second Carolina took control, and I think that's where the difference here in the quarters comes into play. Because right now we'd be, about 15 minutes in and still plenty of time to go. There's less than 2 minutes to go here in the quarter, and there's some strategy that goes along with this too.
Yeah, it's almost like win the quarter, right? Just take it in a little bit smaller chunks, and sometimes that's more feasible.
What a fake there, and going down low, Clark again. Oh, Madison, excuse me. She's the other redshirt freshman we were told to keep an eye on, and she's the one a little bit taller making that play. 5'10", sort of in the same mold as Peterson. Morgan, known as the quarterback of this offense now. 15 seconds on the shot clock. Knobloch gets it, tries to navigate this defense. She spins. There's Walker Welch with a stick. Also getting another stick in there as well on the defensive end is Gabby Hall. 4 seconds remaining, 1 minute remaining here in the quarter. That happened outside of the critical scoring area, so we'll get a restart here. The shot from Knobloch is off the side of the cage. Fans for a second thought it was in. So it looks like last possession of the quarter, if they can keep it for Carolina. Possession clock has been turned off. 40 seconds to play.
Can't fall asleep here if you're JMU. You need to stop them. You can't assume that they cannot score under 30 seconds. Carolina knows how to work fast, so got to stay on this and stay on your toes and finish this quarter.
Strong take, and on her toes, as always, is Doherty. That time stopping Taylor Wareheim in her tracks. Wareheim had a hat trick against JMU in the NCAA, so a good start for Doherty. A pretty good start for JMU. Carolina 3 in a row. JMU getting one back as the final seconds tick off here in the first quarter in Centera Park. And a great first quarter at that. Caitlin Wurzberger, the freshman, now sophomore, getting her first goal of the 2022 season. It's JMU, it's North Carolina. The second quarter coming your way next on LSN. Championship here in Harrisonburg in the CAA once again last year, and you can see just the dominance they've had in this conference. 4 straight CAA titles when they played the games, 6 straight title games. It's been impressive to watch, what they've been able to do and build over the years. And like we said, move that on to being a perennial power nationally too. It's really fascinating to see how they've developed over the years.
Yeah, CAA has been such a huge part of JMU. It's funny, I was on a group chat the other day with all of my classmates from my year, and they were all very confused. They're like, wait, they're not in the CAA anymore? I don't understand. I'm like, well, they still have 1 year. It's a little confusing, but either way, it's just, JMU has been known to be in the CAA, and there's new things coming. So it's all okay. It'll all be okay, but right now their focus is one game at a time.
Yeah, and that's what it should be, and that's what you hear coaches say all the time. This, more than ever, obviously is the focus for the Dukes this season. Their strength of schedule is strong enough in which they would get an at-large bid if they can continue to produce at the level they have in the past. So I don't think they're worried about that, but they know they have to come out and compete every day. And this is an opportunity here. 3-2 is the score as we begin the second quarter. Madison scored the first, and then Carolina the next 3. Then JMU settled things down towards the end of that quarter. Now you get your next segment, as we've been calling them here, the second quarter, with the possession in the hands of the Tar Heels, with Wurzburger here, left side. Wareheim will also initiate sort of in tandem with Wurzburger there. And I think we have a 3-second violation there as the official puts her 3 fingers in the air. So that will become a 8-meter opportunity for the Tar Heels.
Carolina does a very good job of moving off ball and continuing to move, which makes it hard in a zone to get in and out of that 3-second count.
Elizabeth Hillman decides to dump it back, and now they work a wide open Wurzburger. She gets hit hard on the crease by Durkin, and that will be a push.
And a lot of people might say, well, she was there, she established contact. You'll see that, the arms did come out. If she were to get there and just stand there, then she wouldn't have necessarily fouled. But because her arms extend away from her body, that's where, and she gets a little bit of a head there. It's a little bit of a more dramatic contact than needed. That's the foul.
North Carolina choosing not to take some of these and work a little bit of an offense off of a lot of these 8 meters, trying to create some action here. They'll get another chance here once again with Hillman.
Take this in, Hillman. You got quickness. Fire it away.
Redshirt junior from Falston, Maryland. And she does. She takes it, and Doherty gets the stop. Might have gone off the post after it hit her leg as well. Ortega, though, comes out with it. And a battle here as Charlotte Smith takes it away and gets it right back. So a couple of defenders there, Durkin and Smith, take it away from Ortega.
That is what makes JMU's defense even more strong than most people see. They got to clear the ball. They have to finish that. But that double team was textbook. There was no foul. They didn't quit on the ball, and that's what makes JMU defense just a little bit better than some of those other ones all over the NCAA. So it's good to watch. As a young player, you can't give up on a ball, even if it's just not in the 8-meter. You got to play all of it.
Good hustle by Scotty Rose Growney there to not foul and get the ball back and thwart that clear. Wurzburger out to Dirks. Dirks has a goal, as is Aldave and Wurzburger. Ortega has an assist. Looking over the middle off the stick of Wurzburger. Gonna be a battle here. That's good hustle. They run it down. France, and does go off of her stick last, but Ava France was there. Dirks looking in. How about that dodge? Splitting everybody, but that one also calls up a couple of defenders. Mastriani got an opportunity, and once again, JMU gets the stop.
That was a beautiful dodge. She did not stop moving her feet. We call that happy feet right there, and defense just kind of got stunned. I mean, that was beautiful. Everything except the goal that didn't happen. But if you keep dodging like that, goals will fall.
5 saves already for Doherty here. She's been peppered a bit. So that already overtakes how many saves she had in the NCAAs against Carolina last year. Another pass, then Ortega gets hit up top, and they sort of let her play on for a few moments. And she might have had an opportunity. I think we're going to get a card here. I thought, it looked like the ball. There is the card. Yep, I thought that was coming. So it's going to be a 2-minute releasable penalty coming now, and Carolina will go woman up. Ortega here from the left hash.
This is a tough hash. I would be interested to see if she takes it, unless she feels like she can get under this JMU player and protect her stick here. But Molly has this angle down.
Carolyn Thistlethwaite, the one whistled with the card. So she will be sent off. as with 11:16 to go. So a couple minutes for the Tar Heels. Pass in the middle, quick stick and a score. Mastriani.
Textbook man up offense here, I should say, women up offense here. You know, they move the ball, they feel the space, they let the ball do the work, and they have that final finish where it was just a pop inside and a quick stick right to the middle. There was no time for Molly to be able to kind of get into position to make that save. Although she does sometimes make that save, but you got to be careful.
Mastriani, one of the first team All-American preseason players here for North Carolina. They led all schools nationally in total players on the IL preseason All-America teams. So they cleaned up there, 9 in total. And Mastriani, one of them. Wurzburger at that point also getting her assist. So a goal and assist for Wurzburger. Four to 2 is the score. 11:01 here to go in the first half. That one caught off the draw by Mady. Mady fouled by Dirks and on the clear, and she does a good job of gathering that. Jankowski trying to retreat, and that causes a turnover.
So I'm going to put a little blame on the low attackers there at JMU. They need to get the ball out of the hands of the middies or the defenders who just worked hard to get it. It's their job at that point to cut up, get open, and find a way to get open. You have one player on you. You got to find a way to get open. You got to get that ball over the 30 and get it into a protective area because, it's just those aren't your ball handlers. And so there's been a couple times that's happened. I know that'll be a focus of Shelley at halftime.
There's Ortega. At least a point now in 64 straight games. It's pretty good.
That'll do.
I remember when she came on as a freshman, I'm like, man, she is unbelievable. And it's just her first year. Like, you imagine, 4 or 5 years out now, whatever it's going to be, and it's exactly who we thought she would be, which is pretty incredible, pretty consistent over the course of her career. She's got she's got not all the records, but has a chance at all of them, and she gets the assist there to Scotty Rose Growney.
And, before she even made that pass in, I was going to say she's such a pretty lacrosse player when she plays. She's so flowy. Her stick is so beautiful, and she's on her toes, and her head is up the whole time, right? So she's able to see pass or go to goal, and her teammates are always ready for a pass from her, just like we saw right there, right in the middle, ready to catch, receive. Even if you're not looking at the goal, you know where to shoot there, and they're able to finish and really just put their trust in her. So although that wasn't her goal, she was part of almost every one, it feels like.
Scotty Rose Growney, a 2022 honorable mention, preseason All-American, coming off a season in 2021 in which she had career highs and everything you just saw there on that scoreboard. 5-2, North Carolina leading James Madison. We'll step aside for a moment and then get you back here to the action in Virginia. A look back here at North Carolina forcing a timeout for JMU, and Jamie Ortega starting to have her way back there, working as a feeder a little bit more than we've seen today.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I think JMU is also going to discuss, is they talked about wanting to get up in Carolina. And what that means is getting on their hands to not let someone like Jamie Ortega just comfortably make a feed like that. You have to kind of make her uncomfortable so she can't make that easy feed inside.
Yeah, Ortega, obviously one of the bigger stories coming into the season, and even last summer when the NIL, all of those sort of abilities for the athletes, the profit, she was one of the first to do so, getting her own NIL deal with Epic, and that's obviously a testament to, her work and what she's been able to do, and also, doing the research to be able to do it in the right way. And doing it for this Carolina team for a long time, and like we've seen the development now in collegiate sports, kind of the Wild West out there. But Jenny Levy said no reason why athletes shouldn't have the same rights as a musician being able to profit off of their music, or an artist in college being able to do the same. So Ortega doing that for her own right there too. In that aspect, I think it's a really positive thing.
I do too. I just feel for those coaches that now all of a sudden probably feel like agents on top of a coach, on top of a mom, on top of a mentor. I mean, there's a lot of roles they have to play. So I applaud them as well to go through it.
Oh, there's certainly a dark side to the whole deal. And that'll be all flushed out, I'm sure, over the next couple of years. But I think there are some good points. And for the athletes, I mean, even Taylor Moreno, I think that was cool. We were talking to Jenny Levy. She goes, yeah, Taylor Moreno, she's an artist and she creates, these works. And she's able to now make money off of that if she were ever to want to sell those things. So I think that's also kind of a neat aspect. And even some of the other things that they do, some of these athletes.
It's really awesome. And it shows the whole well-rounded athlete, who would have thought? An artist on top of a lacrosse player? That's pretty cool. I don't have any of those extra talents. How about you, Tom?
That's for another day.
Yeah, okay.
Kelly does have a nice assortment of fake plants, if you saw in our open
today.
Yeah,
a lot of interior fake plants we got.
So Carolina with possession here off of the timeout, and now halfway through this possession clock, working it through. And a whistle there once again on JMU as Carolina are now forcing some of these shooting space calls to happen, getting this James Madison defense a little bit more chaotic than it was at the beginning here. Hillman again. Hillman looking for the pass off of that to Growney. Growney goes down, and I believe she stepped in the crease before she went down, so that will go the way of the Dukes.
That's a big stop for JMU, bigger than probably most would realize. If a goal was scored there, it'd be taken to 6-2, and that's a little bit bigger gap than you would like, maybe going only into this second half of this second quarter. So if they can possess this ball here and get another goal on the board, they feel just a little bit like they're staying in this game a bit more.
I mean, you're just watching it now. This is a 5-2 game right now, but seeing the ability of North Carolina from top to bottom, from the entire span of this field. We've seen it in the middle. We've seen it on offense and defense. I mean, they led the nation in goals against average last year, 6.57 per game. I mean, what a mark that was. And you hold Boston College on their big run to, 11, I think it was, in that Final Four game, and see how many BC scoring today against Northwestern. I mean, there's a lot to be said for this North Carolina team. And JMU, they've got to navigate that. They got to be up to the challenge, and said they would be. They're not as afraid as everybody else.
That is so impressive. It's an incredible stat that doesn't get talked enough about, but especially against the teams that they play. They don't play an easy schedule. So that's pretty incredible.
That one rolls away. A battle here now for the loose ball, and it is picked up briefly by Knowles. A whistle there coming on that. Looked like an open stick check. Push on the loose ball. Midway through this second, 5-2 is the score.
Those are one of the possessions that you just want to have back. It's just one of those dodges. The ball flies out of your stick, and it's just kind of a how did that happen feel? And JMU can't get flustered by those moments. They have to continue to play because although we do say it's 5-2, and we talk about Carolina having the ability to run away with this, they are very much still into this game, but it's up to them to stay composed.
Brief conversation going on with the officials, trying to work through all of that as Alyssa Long will now take this over the midfield. And a big hit happening there, and that's going to go to the way of the Dukes. Charge. Back to the way we go.
That was an awesome play, a well thought through play. She decided to get there, get her feet set, and then, have the offense dictate where they need to go, and they didn't. They just kept running into the JMU player. So that's a huge stop. Let's see if JMU can capitalize off of that.
Maggie Clark back in there. She has a goal today. The other goal scorer is Rachel Mady. She opened up the game with a goal. JMU had a 1-0 lead at one point early on. Peterson initiate from up top. That's what they want out of her. And she worked it, though, through this staunch defense. Now to the other side.
And the dodging from Peterson is great. I would say the off-ball movement from the other players need to happen. Her head is up. She's ready to feed if needed. But you tend to kind of sit and watch as an off-ball player, and JMU can't afford to do that.
Yeah, and it's tough. I mean, Peterson, she's been quiet today, but she's got Emma Trenchard on her. I mean, that's what, like you said, Kelly, you got to have some help outside of that to be able to take the focus off of someone like Peterson, though the recipient of a whistle here is JMU. Maggie Clark, already with 1 goal today. Watch for that speed. He takes it, goes 5-hole, but Moreno is there to stop it. First save of the day for Taylor Moreno. In transition, it's Niles. Getting that midfield in there with Dirks again. Dirks has a goal today. And Teal gets into the middle, tries to get that pass off, and a whistle, though, comes a little late, a little after the fact, but there's the push.
And the change you're going to see here on the JMU defense is they look like they're playing a zone and they're starting to face guard Ortega. So we didn't see that too much because there wasn't too long of a possession, but you'll see a player specifically just facing Ortega, and she's not basically not allowed to go off of her. She's glued to that player, and that's what JMU's calling in right now.
Doing that within the confines of the zone defense, and they like to be flexible in what they try to do defensively, and seeing if maybe that can click for them here midway through this possession clock.
Not a bad thought, because we know that everything goes through her, and she is, very much a piece of it. So let's see if we can take her out, and then what can UNC do, I imagine is their thought. I believe Ortega knows how to handle this, though, so we'll see what she does.
And Dirks gets the dodge. She had an open lane for a moment there, closed down by the defense. Back to Growney. Growney surveys over the middle. Less than 20 here on the shot clock. Skip pass. Knocked down by Durkin. She battles for it. It goes off of Durkin last. There is just 11 seconds, though, on the possession clock if JMU can hold on. Dirks gets it taken away, but the hand and the flag go up.
That's a tough call there. I didn't feel like Dirks had the ball yet in her stick for that official to make that call, but it is what it is. You got to line up and you got to go to it, but that's definitely a tough call because it felt like the ball was in the air.
Still just 4 on the clock here. And Dirks will go, and Daugherty gobbles it up. He's got 6 saves today.
That is the one thing with Molly. She's back there fired up about everything. She knows the game, and she's probably saying, well, that's not fair. I'm just going to save this ball. That's the perk of having her back there behind the cage and just, firing herself up. You don't even need to do it. She'll fire herself up.
And rewarding the defense for 90 seconds of hard work, right? That's what it's all about.
Yes, for sure.
All right, less than 5 minutes to go here in the second quarter. 5-2. It's Carolina with the lead. JMU with possession. Tough catch there for Peterson, just a little bit too far away, and it's Walker Welch who picks it up.
And it's just the first look. JMU, give yourself a second. Give yourself a couple, at least 20 seconds on that shot clock to just kind of feel the defense out. Make them tired. Make them work for 30 seconds. Wear them down a little bit. And JMU's just taking that first look, and that's probably driving those coaches nuts on the sideline, but I think they'll discuss it at half.
Mastriani initiating, looking towards the middle. On the doorstep, it's Wurzburger. Second goal of the day.
Tom, that's part of the hardest part to play against Carolina. You can face guard one player, but there's 6 others that can do just as good as the other one next to them. So their head is up. They're ready to really find that open player. Whatever number is on their chest, it doesn't matter. Someone's going to put the ball in the back of the net, and that's what they were able to do.
So 6-2 is the score here. Wurzburger getting her second goal. She has an assist to go along with that. Mastriani now with a goal and an assist today. And Wurzburger, she came in obviously so highly touted, and coming into a program like North Carolina can't be easy with all these different options offensively, but she really held her own. I don't know if she was talked about enough, maybe towards the tournament, but over the course of the season, pretty steady. She got more and more time as the year went on, and ended up with 36 goals and 17 assists, which for a freshman on this team, I mean, that's saying a lot. Looks like we're getting a second card here.
And to add to that, she's a sophomore and she's getting much bigger matchups because she's such a focused player. So it's again, to ask her as a sophomore to step up even more than she did as a freshman. And so far she's been able to really do that. It's hard to do that as a sophomore. You're still not completely groomed as a college athlete, in my opinion. You've only had 1 year under your belt, and we all know that year was really funky and really weird.
So it's 2 minutes now for North Carolina, and that's almost the duration of this quarter that they will once again be a player up here. So let's see what they can do with it, with Ortega starting off with it. 6-2 is the score, as Durkin, one of the cornerstones of this defense, is also sitting out. It's another factor here too.
Yeah, and now in a man-down situation for JMU, they'll come out of that face guard situation and just play their man-down defense zone.
Saw that coming. The JMU defense sloughing off quite a bit and not able to recover in time, as Nicole Humphrey has it here on the right side. Humphrey, a junior from Darien, Connecticut, takes the shot. Low bouncer there, goes by Dougherty. It stays, though, with the Tar Heels possession. Wareheim looking all the way over. Ortega, one-timer, bounces off Dougherty. Another save.
Another incredible save. I mean, that ball went from one side to the other. For her to be able to get all the way around, get her feet set, throw her stick in the air and make that save on a man-down situation, that is very, I don't even know the word. Is it lucky? Is it just talent? Is it just, oh, praise the Lord, she's there? I don't know, but thankful for Molly if you're a defender.
I think she's just been really good for a really long time. Just consistency, right? I mean, she was top 10 in the nation quietly last year in goals against average and save percentage, all along the same, in which she had the same marks her entire career. And I love her emotion there. You see that, Kelly, the fist pump afterwards, and showing that a bit. She's fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, this game could be very different without her at this point. Yeah. JMU has not had a very good possession for a very long time, and they've been on defense a lot, and she continues to make save after save and saving this defense, which we expect her to do, right? And she expects herself to do. But her attitude and her enthusiasm just make it even that much more fun to watch.
The player-up situation should release here in just a matter of about 2 seconds. That should be now released, so James Madison, for the last 34 seconds of the half, will be back at even strength. To get everybody back where they're supposed to be, I think there's some hesitation there with who can be where. Get everybody in front of that restraining line accordingly. They do so, 18 on the clock, and they get one. Jankowski.
The difference in that is there was a hard 1v1 dodge and there was off-ball movement, so they were occupying the other defenders. Shooting hard, going down to goal, Jankowski really put everything she had into that shot, and first goal, first game, good for her. Like, that was a big goal. They need that. And look at that little dance move. She needed that.
This team likes to have some fun. The junior from Bridgewater, New Jersey, didn't play the last 5 games of 2021, was banged up down the stretch, had 8 goals in 10 games last year with 7 assists, and at 5'4", getting the job done, using some of that speed and quickness, getting her hands free in a big spot. 16 on the clock here, 6-3. Mastriani and Peterson. Mastriani tracked it down herself. The self draw to try to get one more shot here for Carolina. Wareheim knocks her defender down, and that will go against Wareheim. Taking the charge was Thistlewaite. Makes a big play and a big spot on the defensive end. A great sequence for the Dukes to finish off the first half. Hanging around 6-3. They're not letting Carolina run away, and up to the challenge of these vaunted Tar Heels, the number 2 team in the country, visiting Centera Park today. So it's 6-3 after the first 30 minutes. A good 6-3 at that. We'll get you back in for the half and then back out for the third quarter. You're watching the CAA Game of the Week on Lax Sports Network. Looking live at Centera Park in Harrisonburg, Virginia. It's number 2 North Carolina visiting the number 12 James Madison Dukes to kick off our 2022 slate of the women's lacrosse season on Lax Sports Network. This, the CAA Game of the Week, just about to start this third quarter. A great first half that we had thus far. 3 points for Caitlin Wurzberger to lead the way for North Carolina. She's got a couple goals and an assist. 2 assists for Jamie Ortega, Mastriani, and Growney, each with goals for North Carolina. Meanwhile, Rachel Mady got the game started with the goal, and then it was Clark and Jankowski each getting goals themselves here as we get set and ready to go for the third quarter. North Carolina did have the edge in draw controls in that first half, 8-3, and that is where they did a lot of their damage offense, and that's why Molly Dougherty was so big with those 7 saves. All right, getting set for this third quarter, Kelly. What does maybe JMU need to do adjust a bit to get themselves a little bit more in tune offensively in this half?
Well, I think you said it right there to start, that 8-3 lopside draw control. That is not something that I can imagine Shelley is happy with, because she did make mention of that. She actually made mention of it at the very end of the call, that she wanted there to be a good draw presence. So they need to adjust that. They need to have a good draw presence. And the offensive end, they need to stop just, and maybe I'm being harsh because I'm an alumni, but don't look for the first look. Give the defense a little bit of time to get tired and then go at them and then finish your opportunity.
Yeah, we don't measure time of possession here like you would in football, but I would imagine there's a lot of time on defense spent by JMU. And the 6 goals for North Carolina, certainly JMU has been up to snuff as Mady goes tumbling there after the draw. Is won, though, by her team, so her hustle rewarded here as we have a lot of action here in the middle of the field, and Ortega is the one who's able to pick it back up.
And that's a common theme there, too. It feels like JMU's winning the initial draw, but then they can't hold on to it. They can't get it into their offensive zone. So it's not just about winning the draw in the first few seconds. You actually have to maintain pressure and maintain possession and keep the possession.
Here's Wurzberger. She's been initiating. She's been the quarterback, filling those shoes of Katie Hogue. Hogue, one of the more prolific players to ever play here in Carolina history. Wurzberger, a little spin on the inside. Another stop, though, by Dougherty. What a move and a better stop.
Offensively, that was a beautiful move, but you got to put that around Dougherty. She's not going to fall for that. She's going to have her stance there. And you saw there on the JMU defense, they came out of that face guard, and we'll see if they continue to do that. They have the ability to flip-flop, but the real focus needs to be right now for JMU to be on their offense. Offense needs to produce in order to win games.
Dougherty, preseason third-team All-American from USA Lacrosse magazine. A couple times she's been an honorable mention at the end of the year. Third-team All-American after last season.
Now this is interesting, Tom. So, reading the defense, Carolina is coming out with a different look defensively, and that's high pressure defense. So you see them, they're way off of the 8-meter. They're, not necessarily in a help defense, although they can still help, but they're playing very high pressure, kind of, getting up in JMU to make them uncomfortable and to get them out of their offense. And it's one of those things as a player, you either love to play against this defense or you hate it. So we'll see what they do.
Almost forcing JMU to win their one-on-one matchup, right? And kind of go from there.
Absolutely. To say the least, I loved playing against this kind of defense.
Looking around there is Tchaikovsky, and that will go behind the cage. And with a card that came through on the follow through. Yep, there you go. The card comes through. That's the third yellow on JMU today. So one more, and that next penalty is unreleasable.
And again, I didn't see how long, clicked off that time for the shot clock, but it was the first opportunity. The first kind of get the ball around a little bit. Let's move a little bit. Let's make this UNC defense tired, because right now, UNC defense is not tired.
So Tchaikovsky will go and sit down. Like I said, the third yellow card today for James Madison. This is a releasable. If they get another, and there's a lot of time to go in this game, that will be unreleasable, which means Carolina have their ears pinned back. They got to be careful moving forward here. So that with 12:37 on the clock, when we reach 11:37, that penalty will be released, or 10:37. not known
there
for math.
I knew you'd get it.
Get there. Aldeve hits the post. Wareheim, she had an opportunity. The slide came a little late from Durkin, and Wareheim took advantage. Wareheim's first of the year.
That's great awareness there, too, by Wareheim. That low-angle shot is hard to get past Molly Doherty. So she took an extra second. She took a fake. She recognized the slide was not there yet, so she had the inside. So you see her there find the inside, switch hands, and finish on that opposite pipe. And that was really good awareness.
Wareheim coming off a season in which she had a career-high 34 goals and 8 assists. She had 3 goals and an assist against JMU in that NCAA tournament game. That a 14-9 North Carolina win last May. Now 6-3, 7-3 is the score. And that penalty released.
And still, 3 goals, that's nothing. Nothing in women's lacrosse, nothing in the game of lacrosse. So JMU just has to keep the composure and allow themselves to get in sync on that offensive end. And I feel a little bit like a broken record, but it's as simple as it is.
Well, a couple of these times it's been, especially on these player-up situations, that's made a big impact in which North Carolina has converted each time. So that card has been released, and North Carolina takes over here, though, after winning the draw once again. And a whistle there coming outside of the play. Looked like a 3-second violation against the Dukes. So getting it here once again is Wareheim on the right side. An 8-meter opportunity for the Tar Heels. Wareheim makes a quick pass and in for the score, Ortega. Her first of probably many, many in 2022.
And it's even striking to me when you say it's her first, because, she's been so active in this offense the entire game. For that to be her first goal is kind of, I said to myself, wow, because she's just so active in so many other ways. So it goes to show that you don't just have to be a goal scorer to be such a big part of this offense. Another thing I would recognize that Carolina does really well is they pass off the 8-meter a lot, and they're very effective on it. So it's a whole nother dynamic you have to be aware of when that player steps up on the 8-meter, making them an even bigger threat.
So where do we start here with Ortega? UNC career goals, points per game average leader, single season points ever, the most single season goals ever, and what she has on the precipice of this year. Now, she got 3 points today. She needs 15 to be the Carolina career points leader. Katie Hogue had 370. Poor Katie had such a great career, and Ortega, I'm sure she's happy about it, but Ortega looks like she's going to beat that. And with that goal, 18 more for Ortega to overtake Samapuzzo for ACC, most goals all time. And 75 more to go if she's going to have that kind of a year to be the NCAA career goals leader, which should certainly be interesting. She also has a points career record on the line. 90 is what she needs to break that record. So she could go down, and if she has a season, I mean, just like she did last year, 82 goals, 28 assists, that's certainly within the realm for Ortega this year.
And you say all of that, and then I just think, man, she makes it look so easy. You know those players that look like they're working really, really hard? She just makes it look like, oh, it's fine. Everything's easy.
She's so settled.
She really is.
Long pass from Ortega there off the 8-meter once again. It's almost like they use this like an inbounds play you would see in basketball. Whip of a shot from Humphrey. Offense.
And I'm not sure if this is, I'm not sure if this is on purpose, but it looks like JMU's not pressuring behind either, and allows that pass to happen pretty easily, as you can see there.
Yeah, Humphrey streaks to the middle, and she scores her first. North Carolina adding another, 9-3.
And again, it's something reflecting on JMU of not getting in the hands of the Carolina players. They're allowing them to just kind of pass freely, have confidence in it, which they have now. And so JMU needs to make that adjustment, whether it's on defense, they change their style of defense, or it's their attitude. They need to get maybe a little bit further up into the Carolina players' hands, and maybe they'll make that adjustment here.
All right, adjustments are being made. We got a timeout here on the field. 9-3 is the score. We'll step aside. We'll be right back here with our CAA Game of the Week on Lax Sports Network. Carolina adds another thanks to transfer from Notre Dame. Andy Aldave finding Nicole Humphrey. You've seen these transfers, each with a goal, and now Aldave adding an assist. The impact and the depth of Carolina starting to show in this third.
The depth is unmatched. I really feel strongly about that in the NCAA. It's hard to compare what they have on the bench. And it was interesting because I saw Aldave on the sideline, which she probably isn't used to being on a sideline very much, coming from another program, being a transfer coming in. But then all of a sudden she's on the field, she produces, and then maybe she's back on the sideline simply because Carolina has too many good players to all have them on the field at one time. So it's a good problem to have, but I'm sure Jenny Levy has some struggles sometimes of, okay, I need to get this player in. But when they come in, they produce.
Yeah, they were thrilled to get her, to transfer in conference, a grad transfer, of course, from Notre Dame. And she actually said no to Carolina at first, Andy Aldave. So they get her the second time around. I guess that's the way things work these days. And Aldave, she put together an outstanding career at Notre Dame and made such a big impact for that program. But she's really acclimated herself, within the rest of her teammates, and has helped them actually also mentally and working through the draw control with a lot of her teammates at the same time. So she's already made a pretty big impact in a little less than a year being here. Pick up there off the draw from Elizabeth Hillman. Carolina will go and get it back. That's been a big problem for North Carolina, or for James Madison today, is just picking up enough possessions to be able to control things, and they haven't been able to do so. Ortega to the goal, saved by Doherty.
Well, you can't let Ortega do that. I'll say that. She had speed there. She was wide open. JMU's got to communicate, but you give Ortega that room, she's going to take it. And another huge save by Molly to, put the defense on her back.
this defense scrambling a little bit. Adave looking towards the middle. It gets deflected, and into the crease it goes for Doherty to pick it up. So finally we get to see JMU in offense again. This is, I believe, the second time this entire quarter that if they can get this clear, we will be able to see them actually with the ball in their possession. Middle is Durkin. Durkin maybe has a free run at this, and there's too many defenders in her way, so she will duck her way out after a couple of high sticks there.
Yeah, and in the back of my head, I was saying, no, 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 no. Give yourself a chance to possess the ball. She's going to get an 8-meter here. She's probably crazy not to take it. Center hash, you got to go, but you know, you got to try and think, put this away. My team needs this.
Been emerging as a leader for this program for the last couple seasons, and now is that, and she beats Moreno at that, 9-4.
The explosion off the line is the initial thought you have to think, because you have two defenders coming in on either side. So whenever I would get up to that 8-meter, that was my first thought. Like, I have to explode. I have to get ahead of these defenders to make sure my hands are free to finish this shot. That doesn't matter what hash you're at. You have to do that no matter what. So especially when she didn't have any options to make that pass. And that's exactly what she did, and that's why she was able to put it away. On the other side, I don't ever want to be that goalie. No, thank you. That is just very scary.
Like we have a stick check coming here. While this goes on, I will remark that Durkin, for her goal song, I'd assume that she chose it, but it was Josh Groban, You Raise Me Up. I mean, and unfortunately, that song and the goal has been taken off the board here. The stick deemed to be an illegal one, so that will wipe the good moment off the board for James Madison. Unfortunately, the score remains 9-3.
And as you know, in women's lacrosse, they do a stick check after every goal. So I assume that was probably a pocket of some sort too deep. And it's just one of those daggering calls. You never, no matter what, if you know your stick's legal, you always shake in your boots when you're getting it checked.
Sort of let the air out a bit after James Madison finally got themselves on the board here in this quarter. And instead, Mastriani goes right to the cage. The whistle goes up as she was going there. And she will get a free position of her own now from the 8-meter. Looked like a shooting space call quickly there before she was able to drive. So she'll test Doherty again. Away we go. Mastriani decides to pass out. Another one-timer flying through the air looked like Wurzberger. Gentile, I believe, has checked into this game. So she was able to, the one who was the recipient of that. Wurzberger now back in there. Looked like that was something that they might have drew up before the 8-meter, Wurzberger and Mastriani. They're pretty creative.
Yeah, and what I can imagine is they're reading the defense back there, whether it's Wurzberger, whether it's Ortega. If there's no defender marking you back there, you can really move freely. So she probably communicated that, look for the cut up around the crease there. I can be open. I'll read the defense.
Amazing. It's these little things, the nuances that separates, the best teams in the country from everybody else in North Carolina. No stranger to that. They said they even went back to the drawing board with some of that stuff, and knowing just the nice pick-off interception there by JMU. Mady able to get that, but we talked to North Carolina saying, those are the things that separate you from winning a game by 1 goal or losing by 1 goal. And they know better than anybody, losing the BC by 1 goal in the Final Four last year.
Yeah, and it's the lacrosse IQ. And I think, you and I can attest to that with just speaking to the coaching staff. Talking to Jenny Levy, she's a wealth of knowledge. And it's just amazing sometimes to just sit there and listen. but she probably reflects that onto her team. And if you can get them to kind of think and use that lacrosse IQ, that's really hard to teach. And that separates some of the best players from not, they could all be the same skill, but if you have that extra lacrosse IQ, that can separate you tremendously from the pack.
That stick there in the face of Peterson. No whistle was blown. JMU lucky to hang on to this one and keep possession here. 30 seconds on the clock. Crossfield to Clark. Clark trying to find an opening. Clark gets a step and she scores. Second of the day for Clark. And a whistle here. Let's see what that is. The goal is good. The foul, there's a foul after the fact here. Like we had a push that came after the ball went through the net. So Maggie Clark, a couple of goals here in her 2022 debut.
We saw the first initial dodge and then we called it a redodge. And that was mentioned on the call this week that we could see that from a few different players. But Clark does a really good job of just, getting stopped once, but not giving up. And right before this goal, I was going to say, JMU, just because you get knocked down, just because you get the ball taken away from you, get rid of that mentality of just kind of putting your head down. They have to keep playing. And Clark showed that. She continued to play even after she was stopped once, and it earned her a goal. JMU needs to continue to do that.
So we had a yellow card that came after the fact on Ali Mastriani, who was guarding Clark in that place. So man up goes JMU right now for the next 2 minutes, the first yellow of the day. 6:34 to play here in the third quarter. JMU maybe hunting a run, possibly. Get it some momentum back. And I think we're going to get another card here. Okay, that's why the yellow was confusing me. There was too many players on the field, I believe. Too many players on one side. Usually that's a non-engagement foul when you see the green card. That's a 1-minute releasable penalty.
I mean, what do you think? She's going to pull out a purple card next? There's all these different rules with the cards. It's hard to keep up.
A lot of different cards. Yes, there are.
Yeah.
So we have now 2 North Carolina players that are sidelined. The green card for a minute, the yellow card for 2. That one going against Wareheim. So JMU gets possession and see if they can get an opportunity, as now we have some replacements happening here. Madison comes off the field and JMU's got a 2-player advantage. Let's see how much of an advantage they can make. They can make it of it. Tchaikovsky will check in. And there's your shooting space on Carolina as they're forced to sort of go back into sort of a webbing of a defense with such a disadvantage. Morgan here now on the right side with 6 minutes to play in the third quarter.
Let's see if they can move the ball, keep the ball hot is what you want to think on this man-up situation. Just let the ball do the work, find the open player with the ball. You don't necessarily have to dodge too much, but every team does it differently. So let's see what JMU has in store.
There's the one-timer for Knobloch. Good pass, good shot. Morgan to Knobloch, and it's 9-5.
Chip away has been their mentality from the start, in the sense of chip away from the defeat of not being in a conference, or chip away from whatever is in front of you. And that's their mentality has to be right now. And they let the ball do the work in that offense. they have to just start chipping away. They're still in this game if they're mentally still in this game, because with a score like this, they're definitely still in this game, but their mental capacity has to be, we're still here, we can still produce. We just have to be smart lacrosse players at this point.
Knobloch, a redshirt junior from Morristown, New Jersey, led the team in assists last year, 25 goals to go along with that. Kind of a utility player for them, does a little bit of everything, and comes up with a goal there to make it a 4-goal game. Remember, it was a 3-goal deficit at the half. And at one point, we thought North Carolina was really running away. It was 9-3. But James Madison now sort of getting a bit of momentum with the couple of those penalties. Each have now been released with that goal. So we are back to even strength. Peterson and Dirks. Gathering it is Mady. She's aggressive off the draw. Now she looks to get it into the attacking third of JMU with the foul that came quickly there on Peterson.
And that's where I say again, Peterson has the ball. She needs to continue to go down through X, or that offensive player needs to pop back up. She turns back into 3 defenders. That's not going to bid well for her, but they bailed her out there, right? She got fouled. But that's where JMU needs to make that adjustment. They need to take care of the ball a little bit more because they have the ability to win the draw.
You're right. They've been very hesitant to take it all the way through after winning the draw, settling things out more so up top than anything else, and that's cost them some turnovers. Peterson does catch it. She's got that left-handed shot. Not as strong, and Moreno knocks it down. Here's Niles. One-woman transition clear. She will push and get it into the hands of her teammate. And now North Carolina will settle in, up 4 goals. Trying to get their momentum back here.
Again, not too much pressure on their hands, which I would be hesitant to do just because Carolina is so good with that feeding. But, you got to watch their dodging as well. So it's hard. It's just so hard to play Carolina in that sense. And that's why I think JMU's sitting in that zone.
Foul comes on Gentile, who was diving to the cage there, and now she'll get it from that center spot. Looking to test Dougherty again. Dougherty has 10 saves today. Gentile looks like she's going to wind up, shoot, and go wide. Haven't seen that from North Carolina all day. We haven't seen many shots off the free position initially all day. Nice takeaway there. Thistlethwaite. She's been pretty strong, and she's knocked down. And a yellow card's going to get blown. Scotty Rose Growney will have to go step aside for 2 minutes now. 3:48 to go in the quarter. So a couple fouls here. Carolina getting physical. Now another opportunity for James Madison.
And that was just, she keeps her hands a little bit lower. She doesn't give that little jab. That's a clean play. It's the second where you get antsy as a player, you bring those hands up a little bit more, and it turns into more of like a cross check higher up. Most officials should and will not put up with that, so that's why they card you right away.
So James Madison back on offense and back with an advantage. I mean, if you want to get back into a game, this is the way to do it. They just scored on a 2-player up. Now they've got 1. Another good pass, and there's Moreno. Her best save of the day. Probably Peterson's best shot of the day, and Moreno was there to stop it.
We knew both, goalies were going to show up. There was no question about that. And, there's no doubt that she was going to come up with huge saves as well. I just don't know if she was faced as often with them so far in this game. But when she is, she shows up.
Now Carolina will settle things down. They'll try and get rid of the rest of as much as they can of this penalty. Moreno listed as just 2 saves today. 7 shots on goal total for James Madison. Like you said, Kelly, not as many opportunities as Carolina has 19 shots on goal, 10 saves for Molly Doherty. 52% though for Doherty.
And to hold this team right now, Carolina, to 9 goals is very good. You know, like with all those different threats on offense, that's a successful defensive set. The game's not over, but that you have to be happy with that on the defensive end. You just have to produce a little bit more on the offensive end.
Oh, kick save there for Doherty. Another one. 11. We're through. We should be getting back to even strength pretty soon here. Let's see if maybe Carolina decides to go. And there we go. Back to even strength we go. 1:37 to play in the third quarter. 40 on the possession clock for Carolina. Tried to weave that through Growney, but 3 white shirts were there. Thistlethwaite again. She's gotten better and better as this game has gone on. A couple takeaways today and some ground balls. She's been solid. Trouble in the clear now. And the recipient of a whistle is James Madison. Things starting to go their way a little bit more than they have all game long, right? I mean, this kind of feels a lot different than the whole game has felt for the most part.
Yes, but they need to capitalize on those moments and not handcuff themselves even more, right? So they get the feel of the momentum coming their way. Now let's see if they can capitalize.
We have a whistle that completely stops play. Clock issue. Clock issue has been resolved. Possession clock is off. Clock. Right now we'll keep an eye on, and here we go. We are rolling away. Less than 50 seconds to play. Here's Clark, 2 goals today. Clark with that speed. Clark takes a step, and guess who is there? Emma Trenchard. She's tough to beat, and Clark learning that as a redshirt freshman against the 5th year. Carolina looking for 1 more before the end of the half, and they get it. Double digits and a hat trick for Wurzburger.
And that's when coaches start to talk about slowing Carolina down. That is when it's hard to do it. You see here that they move the ball so crisp, so clean, A to B to C, sometimes to D to E, whatever it takes. But they feel each other. They know where each other is going to be, and then they're able to finish. And that's just really hard to defend. It's really well done on the offensive end, and that's the Carolina way. They've always been really good at that.
Love seeing the recognition by Jamie Ortega today as well. That's her 3rd assist, and seeing this aspect of her game, or that feeder role. I mean, she's been fed so many times in her career, and now just recognizing what the defense and taking what the defense is giving her. I know it's a cliche, but that's what has made Ortega so great. And Wurzburger, what's the next coming? 3 goals and an assist today, and 3 assists today, for Wurzburger.
And not to mention, she's a sophomore.
Yeah. Don't forget, she was on that Team USA U19 team that won the gold medal a couple of years ago. Back in 2019, was on the all-world team in those games. Jamie tries to push that time with just a few seconds to go. Time rolls out, and so will we. 10-5. North Carolina doubling up JMU. JMU hanging around. Can they continue to do so? You're going to have to find out. Third quarter finished up. Fourth quarter coming your way next on Lax Sports Network. Caitlin Wurzburger had Katie Hogue in the way last year, and clearly today, as the quarterback, not running out of the box anymore. 3 goals, 2 assists, and looking mighty fine as we begin the fourth quarter here in Centera Park, hence Harrisonburg, Virginia today, Callie. She's been really good and scoring, finishing, feeding, you name it.
Yeah, and I was kind of surprised when Jenny Levy said that we're going to look for her to be the quarterback back there. Because, coming off of a freshman year and then, asking someone like that at that age to, do that. But it clearly she's ready and she is up for the challenge. And she not only knows how to produce for herself, but to also have those 3 assists. She's a vital part of this offense.
As the fourth quarter is set to begin, 10-5 is the score. North Carolina with the lead on the road alongside Kelly Berger. I am Tom Eschen. Thank you so much for joining us for this CAA Game of the Week on Lax Sports Network. The first game for both of these teams. First big weekend in women's lacrosse to start 2022 here. As James Madison does get the draw here to start this fourth. Momentum starting to go their way. See what JMU can do on offense here as they try and dig into this 5-goal lead. Like we said, Kelly, their defense has been pretty stout for the most part. It just hasn't translated into too much offense as Marchetti here tries to initiate.
Yeah, and it feels a little bit like they are working plays, but they're also doing a freelance, which is somewhat feeling what their other players are doing, and that's exactly that.
Tchaikovsky to Morgan, and it's 10-6. Morgan's first of the day goes along with an assist.
And did we notice there, Tom, that they settled the ball down for a second? They worked it around. They kind of were able to catch their breath, and then they were able to connect the dots. And that's exactly what they need to do. They need to not feel or look so frantic on the offensive end in the first 15 seconds. That goal will happen, and 4 goals now is very doable in a quarter. But they have to have composure, and that's exactly what they just showed there with a nice finish from Caitlin Morgan receiving that pass inside.
Well, they're doing a little bit better on the draw. They've gotten some player-up situations, so we're seeing a little bit more of James Madison. First game of the year. I mean, it's hard to know what anybody's going to come out with. There's jitters, like you mentioned at the top, Kelly, for everybody involved. So I think now JMU maybe finding a little bit more. I mean, Tchaikovsky was a big initiator for them down the stretch that year. That time taking advantage of a defense in North Carolina that was being a little bit more aggressive. As Dirks wins this one.
You literally took the words out of my mouth. First game of the year. I mean, we can both say that these teams look pretty good for the first game of the year, not so rusty.
Ortega goes down, a big collision between 2 players here, JMU and North Carolina. Ortega seems to be in a lot of pain. Not something you ever want to see, even especially in game 1 for a player of her caliber. This was a pretty big collision between Thistlethwaite and Ortega in the middle of the field. Grabbing and clutching that right foot towards the bottom of her leg there. Ortega having such a great day today, a goal and 3 assists. Precipice of history, and she's already made so much history, even Jenny Levy going out. I think I just saw Ortega mouth, "I'm okay."
See, and you see there, Jenny Levy turns into Mama Levy, instead of Agent Levy or Coach Levy. She's got many different roles, but it's good to see.
Yeah, that pace as
Ortega
picking up the pace as she leaves the field here.
Yeah.
So Ortega comes off here, and North Carolina will take the ball. I don't believe there was a card whistled in that aspect. No card, so we are even strength instead of just maybe a mutual contact. Both players fighting for possession of the ball, and Ortega took the brunt of it. So UNC with possession, up 4 here. Beginning of the fourth. Over to this right side, Hillman. Onto the left, Dirks. Rolls back on the inside. Good defensive job there. Who else? Rachel Mady. But they find the cutter who finishes. That's Alexa Gentile with her first of the day. 11-6, North Carolina.
And that's what Carolina does well, where they move the ball, they move the ball, they move the ball. Suddenly the defense kind of gets stuck in mud here. You see that. And she's able to just weave through, protect her stick, and finish on an offside stick by Molly, which is kind of the only place that you can shoot on Molly and guarantee a score there, right? And the best part is it's a new player. You know, Carolina, just comes out with another player, put the ball in the back of the net. And that's why it's hard to play Carolina.
Alexa Gentile, a sophomore attacker from Northport, New York, Northport High School, gets her first of the year. 11-6, Carolina with a lead now. Back to 5. Mastriani and Peterson have been battling at the draw throughout the day, and get a violation that happened there on North Carolina. And quickly taking over is James Madison. Peterson needs a new stick, but meanwhile the ball will be over on the offensive end. Hildy Boswell checking in for JMU. They will try to settle into an offense here. Down 11-6, scored 2 in the first, 1 in the second, 2 in the third. Pretty spread out goal scoring wise. Maggie Clark does have 2 today for JMU. Peterson initiating from the top. Peterson spinning to her right, back to her left. It's Trenchard all over her. Can't say enough about Emma Trenchard. She has been.
That's a big body to match up with too, right? And, their top player, and also physically, she's a tall player. It's hard to match up, and she's been doing her job, exactly what Carolina needed her to do.
So there you go, Moreno, Trenchard and Moreno. I mean, that's all you need to say about the North Carolina. I mean, there's a lot more to it, but those are the two fixtures that you know the best. Moreno picking off that pass near the crease. And that's all there is to it. I mean, that's what North Carolina, this is. I mean, it's impressive to watch. Like I said, them from end to end. There are stars all over the place here.
Picking off the pass and then becoming a midfielder and making a cross pass clear perfectly on the other player's stick. I mean, that's well done.
Brownie tries to dodge. She gets hit up top. And we're going to get a card coming out. So there is the 4th yellow card on the Dukes today. This one going against Lizzie Piracino. So this is a 2-minute unreleasable penalty.
That's unfortunate because that was a really good blind double team coming. I think the top of her stick hitting that offensive player's face just... it's just wrong place, wrong time type thing. I don't think that was intentional whatsoever, but it is a call and it's unfortunate. But a really nice slide, a good double team, just get your stick up, and so you won't have that chance of hitting someone in the face with it.
So biggest thing JMU has to do here is try to get the ball back. They got to get as much time off the clock, which obviously doesn't work well for them, counter to what they need to do, as the first for Carolina goes in during this penalty. It's Growney, her second of the day.
Play that 3-man game on the crease there. They were able to read it on the defensive side. The JMU only had 2 on those crease. It almost looked like, defense wasn't quite ready yet, but you see here if someone floating in the middle, the collapse is a little late, but Carolina does a really nice job of reading that 3-man game on the crease and being able to finish on the man-up situation.
So 12-6 now the score, 10:56 to go here in this 4th quarter, and North Carolina remains a player up in this situation. Got a lot more time here for them to tick off the clock. And this is a big draw control coming up now for JMU. Emma Greenhill will step in to take this draw against Ali Mastriani. Greenhill's provided some relief the last couple years on the draw at 11 last year. Does a little bit of everything. You know, Mastriani is one of the best at her craft. Plenty of Tar Heels fans have made the trip to Harrisonburg today. A beautiful day for lacrosse, mid-50s. There's a winter storm advisory right now in the area. I think after 10 o'clock tonight, it's going to start snowing. 2 to 4 inches expected, as much as 6 locally here. That's lacrosse in February. I don't know what this is.
You know, that's what I was going to mention that earlier. It's nice to see these players in just, you know, no Under Armour, short sleeve, kilts. Right. That's unlikely in February because we all know once lacrosse season starts, no matter what the weather, it's going to be freezing cold. So right on cue there. They're going to get some winter storm tonight.
Yeah, right. Moreno coming out of the crease once again to pick off a pass. She's been dynamic today. Should know with Marino that she's got 48 career wins in goal. That means she needs 2 to break Kaylee Waters' record of 49. So it ties it today if North Carolina can continue to finish this thing out. Kaylee Waters had a great year in the Athletes Unlimited League this past season.
And what a fun player to play with. I was able to play with Kaylee for a couple years on the U.S. team, and she's just personality-wise on and off the field, but also just like a great teammate and someone to really, you know, just play with back there. She's active and she encourages you, and you can hear her the whole time. She's an awesome player, awesome person.
And an exhale, if you're watching from home, if you're a North Carolina fan, there is Jamie Ortega. So she's back on the field. Looked like a situation. She just had to walk it off a little bit, walk off some of that pain, and she is now here with the free position. Less than 10 minutes to play. And there's that little bit of a play on the free position. I love the wrinkles that you see North Carolina using as Mastriani gets her second.
And it's definitely a strategy because as a player, as a defender, you get up to that 8 meter and you think, okay, I can exhale for a second. There's going to be a pause. When Carolina gets up there, they're thinking, okay, where can we connect the dots? What play can we make happen right now? And that's where they catch you on your heels. And as much as once that ball got into Aldavi's stick, you thought they were going to kind of just carry it behind, she's looking right back into the middle, and that's what makes it so effective.
You know, it's amazing. It's so funny because we saw what BC did on their way to the championship last year, in which you saw Charlotte North get it at the free position at the 8 meter and just have these unbelievable BBs that stung the back of the net. This is such a different approach, but it works all the same. I find it really, because these are the 2 top teams in the country, it's so interesting to see the difference in the nuance for each team. I mean, both have worked really well.
And something she did not fail to mention is that they have lost more national championships than they have won. And so that's something to remember too. You know, they know that, but they're not, you know, shying away from still saying, but this is a goal that we want to reach every single year. We might not succeed in it, but that's the Carolina way. That's what they, you know, want every time out of their year. And if they don't, they consider it, you know, not matching their goal. And that's just their mentality there.
Their counterpart, Boston College, blew out Northwestern today. So if you were just watching that game, appreciate you flipping here. But BC showing everyone why they're number 1. I thought that North Carolina deserved more first place votes, but that's just me.
Can we discuss that? I heard you say that. When you're the national champion and you have what you had coming back, you got to give them the nod.
Durkin gets a goal there in transition, her second of the day. But my argument was, Kelly, you know, like, you're absolutely right. I just thought that North Carolina, who was the best team in the country for 80% of the season last year, deserved a little more credit when you bring in players like Olivia Dirks and Andy Aldave and what have you. It just felt like I'm not arguing against Boston College. I just think North Carolina is it's 1A, 1B, if you will.
I get it, and I understand, and that's why they're number 2. Number 1 should be the one that just won the national championship. And let's make it clear, I didn't go to either one of those schools, and I've never been to a national championship. So I don't, at the end of the day, it is what it is. But I do feel both teams probably, you play them 4 or 5 times on a field, it's going to be a battle every time, right? You never know who's going to win it just because they're both so good and have so much talent.
Yeah, looking forward to some matchups down the road here between those two. Meanwhile, Durkin does get to the goal. Excuse me, I was wrong. That was her first. The first one was disallowed due to the stick check. So that was Durkin's first. But see James Madison being more aggressive there off the draw, getting a couple more draws here. 9 minutes to play, and Mady picks that up. Just past the top of the hour here, alongside Kelly Berger, Tom Eschen with you for our CAA Game of the Week. Live here on Lax Sports Network. Appreciate you joining us from Centera Park in Harrisonburg, Virginia. 13-7, North Carolina. Number 2 team in the nation leading JMU.
I will say, above all else, I've been impressed with both of these teams. I'm forgetting that this is the first game for each team. You know, there's a lot of times when you watch the first game for each team, it's really sloppy. And there's definitely things that both teams can improve on, but they both look pretty clean and put together for being the first game.
Yeah, there's some jitters at the beginning, but you can feel some of the chemistry even building as this game has gone on between the both of them at the same time, too. Inside shot and move there for Mattis, and gobbled up by Marino. Hasn't made a ton of saves today, but somehow have said her name quite often. Aldave. Midway through the 4th. Carolina with the offensive possession once again. Humphrey does have a goal today. Aldave looking, and good anticipation there from Durkin just to get him off the rhythm a little bit. But Ortega does get it, and now they have a whistle here off the play. And it will go the way after the fans asked for it. I'm not sure what the call was, but James Madison gets the ball back. I think Ortega's also asking for an explanation.
We could hear the fans yelling it. I was trying to look around to kind of see what they were talking about. I'm not so sure either, but either way, it's JMU's ball.
It looks like a green card has been issued here. So 11 is sitting in the box right now. Alexa Gentile has been, looked like I saw a green card come, which means that was some sort of procedural, too many players on one end deal, and that's probably what everybody was asking for. So Carolina, will go, yes, a player down, and James Madison will take over. So that's what you have there. Called like an offside, if you will. Second green card of the day on UNC. So James Madison, now a player up for the next minute. Koski behind the cage, working with Peterson here. By Knobloch in the middle, she cannot come up with it. The defense is able to do so. Gabby Hall, though it's taken right back. Knobloch staying with the play.
And those are the type of things that really need to be recognized post-game is, it's 13-7. She could have given up on that. She made a mistake. She didn't catch that ball, but she fought for it afterwards and got the ball back for her team. And at the end of the day, that's what you want to see out of each player. And you hope that that can carry throughout the season.
Now back at even strength. Penalty released. Humphrey picks up the loose ball after the drop pass and loses her stick. And they're going to send off Ty Jankowski. So another yellow card going against James Madison, which means that'll be another 2-minute, a 4-minute, a 2-minute unreleasable penalty.
For number 4.
The
that
penalty
was
on number 4.
I'm with you.
Yeah, I didn't think it was 4. There's more than 4 yellow. A lot of 4s are playing around in my mind there. So it's a 2-minute unreleasable. Slash on Ty.
So we'll see here if Carolina maybe slows down play a little bit. They have the lead. They have the ability to kind of take the wind out of the sail of JMU as much as they want now coming down to the last 5 minutes of the game. But there is still the shot clock, so you have to keep an eye on that. But you're not in a pressure situation. And then on the JMU side, although they are, in a situation where all even, man down, whatever it may be, because that will all change here in the next few minutes. You'll see maybe they'll start to pressure a little bit. If they need the ball, maybe they'll step out a little bit more and just show a little different defense just to have a little bit more urgency at this point.
Wurzburger. .30 seconds on the possession clock. They get it inside. The shot off the stick of Dougherty. Mastriani got an opportunity there. Wurzburger, a quick reset here. They look inside again. Ortega is stopped by Dougherty. And has she been good today?
When is she not? Does she have bad games? It's every game I've watched. She's had a good game. It's just she's on it.
There's your reset to 60 after the save. Like we had mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast here, that's where the shot clock will reset to this year. Instead of the full clock once again. We got a shooting space come after that. As Gentile, who has a goal today, will now take this 8-meter. 4:11 to go. Still time to go here on this unreleasable penalty. One step, shot, and a score. The second for Gentile. 14-7.
And that's where we see a player that can step and rip, right? So you let her do that. You give her the green light to say, if you feel this, then do it. Not everybody has that ability to do it. And you kind of know as a player when you have the ability and when you don't. And she felt confident in that. You could see the way she was set up. And that was a fire shot. And that's, way to shoot, girl. That is awesome.
I think you almost said took the words out of Jenny Levy's mouth. Little pat on the back there from the coach. The player up continues, as I mentioned, unreleasable now for about another 30 seconds. 14-7, Carolina with the lead. Nine different goal scorers today for the Tar Heels. Pretty spread out affair, as I think they're checking on some clock things here on the field. Talked about James Madison and the schedule they play and how obviously they can still get an at-large bid despite not being eligible for the CAA tournament this year. Delay a game has been called. Green cards all over the place.
Yeah, sometimes you see officials, they utilize their cards way more than others. And sometimes you wonder if there's an emphasis on certain calls, especially being early in the year that they've talked about and they've discussed. So maybe they're trying to set the tone for the year, whatever it is. But yeah, there's a lot of cards. There's green, there's yellow, there's red. It's hard to keep up. And even the ones that we know the game really well, right? It's still hard to sometimes keep up.
This has gone against Casey Knobloch, so she will have to sit for a minute. That's a 2-player advantage right now for the Tar Heels. Back to my schedule conversation in a moment here as that one goes by the stick of Dirks. About 10 seconds to go in the first penalty. And we have another whistle here off the play. And the official will discuss things. First game, as we always say, first game. I feel like we say the first game of every year. First game for everybody out here.
I will say I do feel that these 2 officials are very senior. I feel like they've been around since I played at JMU. So they're definitely more of the experienced officials. So I imagine what they're doing is discussing kind of where everyone should be. But again, first game, people are rusty a little bit. They're trying to just make sure they make the right call.
So let's talk about our CAA schedule here in the next couple weeks. And looking over on the men's side of things, you got number 1 Virginia heading to Towson. That's coming up in a week's time, so that's exciting. And then you've got Maryland. They're going to go to William and Mary. Maryland, a top 5 team this year, and excited to see what they have. St. Joe's at Drexel men, Stony Brook at Hofstra women. See Joe Spallina and his squad out in rare form as always. So that's going to be exciting here the next few weeks of CAA action on Lax Sports Network.
It happens every year, but it feels like lacrosse season just kind of sneaks up and then bam, it's
Boom.
here.
It's here.
It's just wild.
JMU, they've got Virginia Tech at home, UConn and Sparks. They take on High Point, Ohio State, Penn State, Rutgers. Those are all, good squads. And then that doesn't even count later on in March. They go to Virginia and to Maryland. So we talked about their schedule being strong enough. It certainly is, as those 2 teams are 2 of the better ones in the conference and their country. So Dougherty will get to see some more shots, I'm sure, as he saves another one.
Just a nonchalant slide to save. No big deal. And then another one. My goodness.
14 saves for Molly Dougherty today. It looks like that North Carolina's going to come out with this win, but to be able to have the confidence for Dougherty, for a goalie, that's so important. And to do that in the first game of the year against this team, that's got to be huge.
And I really do believe that she's probably a player that still walks away from this game knowing we know how well she played. We know how many saves she had. She will be the one that says, well, I still need to work on this. And that's what makes her so good. She's never satisfied. She knows what she wants. She knows what she needs to work on. And just having a player like that in your program is just so, it's one of those things where you just say, wow, I hope I can get another one time, because they don't breed them like that all the time. And she really, really, really works hard.
So there's another yellow card on JMU just to get all of our bookkeeping done here. We got to count the players on the field here because I'm losing track of who is on the field and who isn't. I do know that Marie Durkin, that was her second yellow of the day, so she cannot return. So she is done for the day. They can sub to replace her, though, eventually here. So that looks like now we have 1-player advantage. Everything else expired before that, and now resetting to a 1-player advantage here with 2:44 to go. Appreciate our producer, Dylan Hand, for filling me in to let me know what's going on. Casey goes low, beating Dougherty 15-7. First goal of her career.
The biggest thing here is you see the change in level. So she's high, and then she scoops her shot low. And, it's just that little high fake. She didn't even necessarily give a fake, just a cradle high and then a change of her stick. And that's what caught Dougherty offline. And, to be able to do that outside shot there and have the confidence and the excitement afterwards, That'll stick with her really well.
Sophomore from Alexandria, Virginia. So he was a top 20 freshman coming out of high school. Two-time state champion at Bishop Ireton Country School. 15-7 is the score. Carolina's schedule, they have Florida a week from now. They take on Furman in between that. Northwestern on March 6th. That'll be interesting after we saw BC dominate Northwestern today. Of course, I think that would have been a little closer if Izzy Skane was healthy. Hopefully her recovery is going well. See her next year. Off the top of the crossbar was Wareheim. Dirks comes out with it. Schedules are a little more settled this year. There's not as much of the repeat team. And of course, the Big Ten played just themselves last year. It's much more normal than it has been the last couple seasons, which I think everybody who I've talked to is just like, yeah, it feels a lot more normal just with everything.
It feels a lot more normal. And, it's kind of crazy to have the coaches talk about it as well. They're just as happy that things are more normal. They want their players to experience a college feel, because last year just didn't feel like that at all with all the regulations they had to follow, and then on top of it the crazy scheduling and what they could do and what they couldn't do. It was mind-boggling.
Yeah, Jenny Levy said she was encouraging the players to go to football games in the fall. Go watch Mac Brown and his team go to battle on a weekly basis. I don't know. I'm sure those were fun games. That's all I'll say. It wasn't the season that they would have wanted, I don't think, this year for football.
It's one of those things where just go be a college student. And
right,
sometimes you forget that. Yeah, you forget how to do that. She had to remind them, just go be a college student.
Yeah. She said not as many rules, not no rules. She just said there wasn't as many rules this year.
Yeah. Jenny didn't want to get that late night phone call, so she just said, be smart.
Yeah, you got to have a certain group to be able to say that to, for sure.
You definitely.
And this group looks primed again to be one of the best on the national scene. 3 goals, 4 assists today for Caitlin Wurzberger, the sophomore, filling those shoes of Katie Hogan, filling them well. Those are big shoes to fill, but she looked good in doing it here today. Jamie Ortega, a goal and 3 assists, a couple goals apiece for Mastriani and Grounding. Just the same names. There's some new ones mixing in, but at the same time, you can sort of feel that North Carolina has rebooted once again, and competitive at that for James Madison. And maybe something to leave everybody by is Isabella Peterson continuing her goal streak. 19 games in a row, and the final seconds tick off the clock. So that'll do it here from Centera Park in Harrisonburg, Virginia. A buzzer beater at that for James Madison. Maybe not in the way they would have liked. We're going to take a quick break with the score 15-8 the final. Then we'll come back and recap everything for you in just a moment. You're watching the CAA Game of the Week on Lax Sports Network. 15-8 the final here in Centera Park. The number 2 team in the land, North Carolina, taking down the Dukes here, as Carolina still hasn't lost a game on the road since March of 2019. A game on the road, that is. That's how dominant this program has been. Home or away for the last couple of seasons. Of course, a Final Four team last year. Your thoughts today on seeing the Tar Heels up close today, Kelly?
The big players came to play, and they produced. But then I would also say that, we can call them the fill-in players. We can call them the players that maybe don't get all the glory and the accolades. They came as well. And that's a complete package that Carolina is going to bring. I would just encourage them to keep on rolling. They looked really good, especially for this first game. And I'm interested to see how far they go in the season.
Yeah, first game jitters out of the way for both squads. We'll see if JMU can build on this performance. A game in which they made it competitive at times. Carolina just too much quality down that final stretch as Wurzberger led the way. 7 points. She led everybody today. 3 goals and 4 assists. And then on the back end, we did see Trenchard and Moreno up close. Molly Doherty deserves a shout out. She was incredible. 15 saves and just trying to stop this North Carolina attack. Easier said than done. But that'll do it for our coverage today from Centera Park in Harrisonburg, Virginia. For Kelly Berger, Dylan Hand, and the rest of our team, I'm Tom Eschem. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time, everyone.